Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the second session of our MRT meeting. I hope that the last many hours have been productive for you, that you have had a chance to get a rest and to see some of Detroit and to have some very good meetings. The title of this session this afternoon is Focusing on Sustainable and Inclusive Trade in the Region. This session is especially important to me, both as the chair of the meeting and as the United States Trade Representative. As many of you know, over the years, and over the last 2 years, the United States has been engaged in a fundamental reorientation of the way that we think and approach trade policy. From our conversations, I know that many of us share a common understanding on the limits of the current version of globalization today. The traditional approach to trade prioritized a very aggressive liberalization and tariff elimination. This approach has certainly produced benefits, massive increases in economic activity and growth. But we also know that the focus on maximum efficiency has had significant costs and consequences. Prosperity without inclusiveness has contributed to rising inequality and wealth concentration. In addition, we all have experienced firsthand how dispersed and fragile our supply chains are and the realities of a worsening climate crisis. It is clear today that we must adapt to the realities of the global economy. And that is why from day one, the United States has been using trade to implement President Biden's vision to grow our economy from the bottom up and from the middle out. If done correctly, trade can be a force for good, and trade must be a force for good. And that is why we are putting workers at the center of our trade policy, empowering small businesses and lifting up the voices of historically underserved communities. We're crafting trade policies that protect our environment and incentivize the transition to a clean net zero economy. Our U.S. representative in this meeting, Ambassador Bianchi, will share some of our experiences and lessons learned over the 2 years that we've been engaged in this work. And I also want to emphasize that our vision includes all of you. The United States is back as a committed partner, and APEC is a prime example of how we can collaborate to tackle our common challenges and seize our shared opportunities. I understand that many of our fellow APEC economies face the same challenges. I also know that you have been thinking about and implementing policies to make our trade policies more inclusive, how we deploy trade policy to advance broader objectives of sustainability and resilience. So this session is an opportunity to learn from each other. What's working? What's been most difficult? Where are we succeeding? Where are we falling short? Is there more we can be doing together on these issues to ensure that they are core to APEC's work? There's a richness of experience on these issues across our region, as was made clear last year under Thailand's APEC year, with adoption of the Bangkok goals. The United States stands ready to work with APEC economies to support sustainable and inclusive trade throughout our region, whether it's through sharing best practices, developing common principles, or raising greater awareness on these topics. So again, I look forward to our discussion. To ensure our conversation remains focused and all ministers have an opportunity to speak, I again ask ministers to approach this conversation with discipline. Limit your remarks to no more than 4 minutes. And as I did yesterday, I will be gently but firmly reminding you of the time. And you'll also see the countdown clock on the screen. The floor is now open for your views. I want to remind you that instead of going through a set order, we will be asking delegations to flag up to indicate your desire to speak. So the floor is now open. For those who are ready to speak, well, actually, let me pause first. The floor is not open yet, and we will be ushering our friends from the press out of the room first. So thank you, members of the press, very much for your participation.